Hey, welcome back to edtech by Meera, and in today's short tutorial we are going to learn the essentials about inbuilt function which is called input, because input is an inbuilt function in Python and it is used to read input from the keyboard and from users, etc. So what it does is it will take the user's input and it will evaluate it, and usually you have to put a string inside the parenthesis. For example, consider a variable which we are creating, name. Yeah, so in order to get the value, we use the inbuilt function input. Inside the parenthesis of the input function, we write a string, enter your name. And then we print out the name variable. So what happens? You see here, it will give out a prompt like and the user will answer the question. So enter your name, the prompt is there. Then considering me as a user, so I will write out, fill up my name, Meera. Yeah, then after printing the screen will show the output, Meera. So whatever value you're entering inside the input function, it will automatically convert it to a string, and then it will kind of show itself on the screen. Yeah. So this now here in this particular situation, what the user entered was a string already. Yeah, because like the name Meera is a string, and the parenthesis here you've given the prompt which is supposed to be a string also. Okay, next we consider another variable, age. Now here, as we know, age is always a number, not string, right? So, but first we just consider it as an input function, and then we say input your age. Yeah, so usually the prompt is your age as a string and a colon, so that when you print out when it's prompted, the user can see the question, your age. It can be your age, enter your age, whatever. Yeah. So like say whatever the value is 25, and the screen will show the output as whatever number you entered. Yeah. Okay. So what happens here is, even if you enter a number or an integer instead of a character, yeah, it will still be stored as a string, in other words. Yeah. So you will see here what I mean. So first, before I explain, let's see the type of data. When you say print type age variable, that means you want to know what type of data is the age variable value. So here the 25, it shows it's a string here, class of string. Why? Because it's like I say, by default this variable, if you use the input function, it will store even the number or the integer values as a string. But in order to typecast it, that means in order to change it, because we want it as a number storage, so in order to change it from a string to a number or an integer, we have to use the integer function. So first the integer function, inside the parenthesis of the integer, which is also an inbuilt function, mind you. So inside that we use the input function. So this is the way you write. First integer function, inside go and write input function. Inside the parenthesis of input, we write the statement, write your age, or what is your age, enter your age, or whatever, blah blah blah. So you can also say age, or enter your age, comma, and the age variable. This was yeah, and then let's see what happens. Okay, now this is age. It's showing an error here because I made a mistake, because this kind of sentence and statement, string and the variable, sorry, is supposed to be written inside the print statement or the parenthesis, not inside an input function. That was a mistake. Haha. Okay. So you just write enter your age or enter the age or whatever. You are supposed to write a string. So by default, inside the parenthesis of input function, it is prompted by, we write a prompt string, a string which prompts the user. So print age, and then we also type to find what kind of data is the age. In this case, after using the integer function. So let's see there you go. It's showing a class of integer. That means now it is typecasted or converted from a string into an integer just because we use the integer function. This is very important. So you have to remember that when you're using the input function for entering integers, you have to use the integer function, and then inside that the input function. This is just for your knowledge and information, and why it is done, that's why I'm showing it. this way with an example. So this process of taking an integer as a string and then converting it into the integer or float or whatever, this is called typecasting. So now let's see the type of data for the name variable value, because that was a string, so it should show string ideally here. There you go. Wait, let's see. First let's enter your name, the prompt, enter the value, whatever, yeah, and then okay, there you go, class of string. So here the type of data is string, because for names obviously you cannot write a number, right? So whatever you write, so name is stored as a string value, integer, the age, count, etc. is stored as an integer value, so we have to use the input function. So just showing you the difference. Okay, let's consider another example. Now we finished doing the string, we finished doing the integer. Let's take another example for amount. Now let's say amount as in maybe amount of expenditure, something which involves decimal. So let's see. But before that, let's do a wrong I'll show you a wrong way of doing it and then I'll do the correction. So amount equals integer and then the input function and then the prompt of amount spent in dollars or something like that, or amount just spent, yeah. Then after that you print the amount and then print the data for amount, print amount, yeah. Then print the type of amount, print the type of amount, print type amount, print type amount, print type amount. So here the type of data I will show you as, okay, let's write the amount spent. Let's write just an integer 258. So it's showing class of integer. So this data is integer, fair enough. Now write a decimal value and check what's happening. It will show the error message. So I want you to read the error message. Okay, so let's do it again this time and enter a decimal instead of integer when we are running the program. Okay, amount spent, okay, 23.5 or 23.55. Oh, by mistake, the typo mistake, it typed out too many numbers with too many decimals. That was a mistake. Sorry for that. Okay, we do it again. I was going a bit too fast. The keyboard cannot take the speed. Okay, let's try again. Run. Amount spent. Let's write a shorter number and a shorter decimal. Oh my God, okay, 1.2. What's happening with my keyboard? Okay, 1.2. Okay, amount spent 1.2, and then let's see what's the print type data. The type of data is showing what? Let's see that. Why is it so jumpy? Amount spent. Okay, I want to do it again. Let's do it with a 2-digit number or 3-digit number. Okay, 100.2. There, it's showing an error with base value. Why? Because you are entering a decimal value and in the formula you had written, in the code block you had written integer. Because if it's a decimal value that you are going to enter, then it will show an error because you are supposed to write float. If you remember, for decimals, it's float and not integer. But here I've written integer function. So I need to go back there and change the integer function to float function. This float will accept all kind of numbers, with decimals, without decimals, whatever. So here I write, but specifically for, if you know that decimals may appear there, then you have to write float. Yeah, so there you go, amount spent. Okay, 250.25 or maybe 250, yeah, class of float. See, it's automatically the type of data. When you write print data type, is showing float. So now you know the difference. So it's very important. For decimals, it's the float function, and then inside that the input. For integer, it's the integer function, inside that the input function. And for strings, it's straight away just you write the input function, inside that the string, the prompt string. So this is actually, by default, it will be stored as a string, but to typecast it to a decimal, we use float. To typecast it to an integer, we use integer function. So this is how. What we learned today? Today we learned what is an inbuilt function, which is called input, or rather we learned all about input function, which is a Python inbuilt function. And what is input function used for? It is used for reading input from the keyboard and from users. And what it does is it takes the user's input and evaluates it. And by default, the input function always returns the input in the form of a string. Yeah, and what is exactly written inside the parenthesis? It's a stringed prompt, a prompt in the form of a string. Yeah, and then whatever value that you're going to enter inside the input function, it will automatically be converted into a string. Even if it's an integer, what you need to do is you need to explicitly convert the value into an integer within the code through typecasting, and I showed you how to typecast it. Like for example, in the case of integer, you have to write integer function and then input function inside that. So, and then for decimals, you have to use the float function. Yeah, and for name, it's already by default, it's a string. So this is how you have to typecast it. You will take the input as an integer or as a float value, and then the user has to just typecast it using the int function, float function, like I mentioned. And why do we use the input function in programming and code block? Because the flow of program will only continue if you have the user provided values, and that is provided by using the input function. Yeah, because this is not provided by the programmer, it is provided by the user, because when you're doing the input function, it is creating a prompt for the user to enter the value. And so what do we do, why do we actually need the input function other than that? So basically to interact with the users or the keyboard, and also to read the different inputs, right? What value is input, number, decimals, like floats, integer, string, whatever you call it. And like you can see inside the input function parenthesis, there are no parameters. Instead of that, what do we insert inside the prompt? Not a parameter, but kind of a string message that is used as a prompt that will ask for an input from the user, and then it will be displayed as an output on the display screen, right? So this is all about the input function. Hope you understood. See you in the next tutorial. And do not forget to smash that subscribe button and the bell notification so that you are prompted as soon as I post a new Python tutorial for beginners. I'll be doing a couple of more of these lessons. After that, I will start and resume the Python projects again. And then later on, I'll be doing full stack projects with Python and JavaScript. So stay tuned until then. See you in the next. Subscribe.